Yeah, as far as how long I've been in comedy, it'll be 6 years in July, um, and that time flies. You know, like it's not. It doesn't seem like 6 years. Um, and where I'm at now, I would say I'm in between feature and headliner. You know, I mean that's like I'm getting to headline some shows, but featuring at the club that I always wanted to work at, is Hilarities.
I feel like online dating is just like we recreated the dating from when we were children. You know what I mean? Whenever you're in like elementary school and some girl would come up to you and she'd be like, hey, do you like Jessica? You're like, I don't know, does Jessica like me? She's like, well, I can't tell you if Jessica likes you until you tell me if you like Jessica. Like, well, I don't really want to tell you if I like Jessica until I know if she likes me. And she's like, well, for $29.95 a month, you can super like Jessica. And then you do, and then she messages you, and she's like, oh, you're really hot. And you're like, oh, you're not a real person. God damn it. Fucking bots got me again.
And I host there and feature there, but yeah, so that was a big deal to me. But yeah, I've been headlining like little road gigs and headlined at the Funny Stop where I started at, so. Just go do it, because you don't know. But you never know if you're gonna go up there like I did and fall in love with it immediately. You know, like and if you do, it's something, and I think that goes with anything in life, whether you want to, anything that you like have dreams of doing, I think you should try, because if you do love it and you're decent at it, it's something that can change your life forever. You know, I mean, like my current job is a good job, good benefits and shit. I never thought I thought for sure I was going to retire from this job. And now I'm like trying to figure out how to quit, you know, like it's something that like they always say that if you like love what you do, you feel like you never work a day in your life or whatever. And I think that's not completely true. Like, you know, like comedy does feel like work sometimes. But it's way better. You know, it's way better than doing a shitty job, you know? I mean, it's really worked my ass off to get anywhere with it, you know? Like, so I started doing anywhere from 5 to 6 mics a week pretty much right away.
Super consistent and stuff too, because you know when you started you were funny, but there would be like nights where it'd be like you wouldn't have it all the way. But over the past 3-4 years, you're always one of the guys that go, oh, I know when John's up, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I feel like if I do bad now, it's usually the audience's fault.
That's exactly. That's
Always blame it on
now he gets it. Now he gets it.
I did a guest set at the Funny Stop for Bill Squire the night before, and he asked me if I wanted to do Jokes on You the next day, which is an all crowd work show. And I had never done crowd work ever before. And I was like, sure, because you don't say no to that. It's stage time at Hilarities. And I went home. I watched like a bunch of crowd work videos just to like kind of try to get an idea of what I was going to do, you know. And and I went up and I had this little bit that I was going to do at first about being nervous by my first time on stage at Hilarities. And it was me kind of being like saying that it was my first time on stage at Hilarities, and then being like, I'm not nervous though. Are you nervous? And pointing to some lady in the crowd. And then she said no. And I was like, well, what's something that makes you nervous? And she said my job. And I was like, well, what's your job? That's weird. And she's like, I'm a 911 operator. And I don't know why in my head I thought that this was the appropriate question. But I asked, what's the worst phone call you've ever gotten? And she said, she kind of whispered, someone killed themselves on the phone with me. And the first thought in my head was like, you can't do a suicide joke at Hilarities your first time on stage here. And then I blacked out. and I literally, I felt like I was drowning. And at some point I just like don't remember anything else happening until the other host of the show started coming back on the stage. And I was like, that's what they do whenever you're done with your set. And I saw Jimmy coming up, and I was like, oh, Jimmy's coming up here. I must not be doing very well, or something like that. And that was like how I ended my set. And it was so brutal. But it also made me a lot less fearful of Hilarities. Like my first time actually getting booked there, I kind of had that in my head to where I was like, it can't be worse than that. You know what I mean? So it was like, that was awful though. That was a bad first memory of being on stage at Hilarities. Yeah, it was cool. The first time I did it, the first time I did like 3 mics in a night was like one of the coolest nights I've ever done comedy. It was just 3 open mics. Like it wasn't a big deal, but I'm a comedy nerd. So like, you know, like getting to do 3 different spots in a night, and 2 of them were absolutely terrible, you know, but I had a joke I was working on, so I was able to do a mic at one spot, and then while I was driving to the other spot, kind of mess with the joke in my head a little bit, and then try it different at the next spot, and then do the same with the last spot. And by the time I got to the last spot, it was a pretty polished joke, and I was like, fuck, this is how like comics in New York must feel, you know, like going around to different mics and shit. And yeah, it's and that's where you, like, your first couple of years in comedy, I think if you're not doing that, you're doing it wrong. Because that's where you build relationships, because, you know, you meet all the other, because to do 3 mics in Cleveland in one night, you're doing like East Side, West Side. I love the friendships that I've developed through comedy. I mean, I have most of my best friends. I have a lot of people I consider best friends now, and they're all comedians, you know. 7 years before I started doing comedy, in the natatorium, I ran into the owner of the Funny Stop, Pete, in the sauna, and he was trying to talk me into doing comedy. And I was like, yeah, I really want to. He's like, yeah, come by sometime on a Wednesday. And I just never did. I don't know why. It's intimidating, you know? And I think it took someone I know that was doing it to, like, show me, like, you're being a pussy, just go up and do it. I mean, that's where I did my first open mic, but it's also my first 6 months into comedy. There's not, in Akron and Cleveland, there's never been open mics on Friday and Saturdays. So my first 6 months into comedy, I would be at the Funny Stop every Friday and Saturday just watching professional comedians do 4 shows, you know, and you also get to know the comedians. You get guest spots, you know, like so you're going up in front of an actual comedy crowd, so it was better than an open mic anyways. But yeah, and Pete was the best. He would let any comedian that had ever done comedy at the Funny Stop, he would let come hang out for free. And I miss him a lot. But yeah, that club means a lot to me, and I hope it doesn't ever go away. It's just a magical place. Like it is that, like, as a comedy nerd, when you've listened to podcasts and read books about comedians, and you picture these comedy clubs in your head where it's like comedians hanging out at the bar and talking while there's somebody on stage and an audience full of people, like, that's the Funny Stop. Like, it's just the classic old school comedy club that that the owner gave people way more opportunities than anybody else. And it was the first time I got a feature weekend there. So I was featuring for a comedian named Adam Ferrara, and I had a killer set. And I go outside, and I'm leaning up against the fence smoking a cigarette, and I see my buddy John Armstrong walking down the street, and he comes and like leans up against the fence next to me, and we look up at the marquee, and it's his picture on the marquees and headlining John Armstrong or whatever. And it was just like a moment where we were both sitting there reflecting on, I think, like where we came from, you know, and like I was like, man, that is awesome to see your name up there, you know. And he was like, you'll be up there soon enough, you know, whatever. And it was just, that was a really cool moment to just, I always do that. I don't do it so much anymore, but I always did that whenever I first started working there, especially my first weekend featuring. I just, after that first set went really well, I that time going outside before John walked up, I was just kind of reflecting on like what it took to get there, you know. The accomplishments that mean the most to me, there's two of them, and that's becoming a regular at Hilarities, and winning the Rubber City Comedy Festival Best of Best Award, because that was they called it the Pete Award, which was the owner of the Funny Stop where I started out, who died. It'll be 2 years in July, and so that award meant a lot. And I think one of the people that gave it to me cried while he was giving it to me. It was pretty emotional. And so I gave a very unemotional speech whenever I won the award, because I didn't want to start crying on stage because I'm a vulnerable pussy. We took a bus because we did like a Browns backers trip to New York for the Browns game, and we took a bus, and just like as soon as we got off of the bus for the first time, and just feeling the city instantly. It was just like, I then didn't even think about moving to New York to do comedy or anything. I just felt like, I think this is where I'm supposed to be. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then since then I've taken several trips there, and I do feel home there. So I don't think it would be like, I think I would just miss my family a lot. If I moved there. And I told somebody today, my favorite is that like, I think I am a comedian because I grew up with two brothers that were 7 and 9 years older than me, and I was always doing dumb shit and to try to like get their attention or impress them or make them think I'm cool or whatever. And so the most like rewarding thing about comedy for me is them coming to see me, and that you can see their like with what I just did on stage, and it's like, that is the best, you know. Like that is like, to me, it's like, that's all I've ever wanted, you know. It's for like my older brothers who I look up to think that I'm cool, and they do whenever they see me on stage, you know, and they probably do otherwise. It's just you don't feel it ever, you know. Like that's the point of a brother. You're not supposed to let them know you think they're cool, you know. But I love Cleveland too. Like I have a pride in not me being from Cleveland, because I'm not. I'm from Texas originally, but a pride in my family history being from Cleveland. You know, like my great grandparents came to America on a boat, and they settled in first Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and then very quickly moved to the Akron area. So it's like, there's a long history of my family here and being Browns fans, and weeks ago I did a show at a theater that I used to go watch shows at when I was in college, and it was like one of the coolest nights of my comedy life. And then I had to get up at 5:30 in the morning to go to work the next day, and it was one of the worst days of my life. You know what I mean? Because it was like, it's just such an up and down, immediate up and down. Like it's the highest adrenaline followed by the most boring shit in the world, and it sucks. But I do think that when I get to where I want to be in comedy, and I make it, quote unquote make it, I guess, it's going to be that much better because I know what I went through to get there. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like I'm a huge Browns fan, and it's kind of like I used to, when I would go to games and we'd be getting our ass kicked and people would want to leave early, and I'd be like, no, we're staying. You know? It's like, yeah, we're going to sit here and dwell in this shit because it's going to make it that much better when we do win. You know, like that's how I feel about comedy and work, honestly.